Find all values of x that satisfy the equation x plus 3 over x is equal to 4. One way to approach solving this equation is to multiply both sides of the equation by x. When you do so, you will get x squared plus 3 when you multiply the left-hand side by x, and you will get 4x when you multiply the right-hand side by x. The next step is to recognize that if we could bring this 4x over onto the other side of the equation, we'd have a quadratic equation. So subtract 4x from both sides of the equation, and when you subtract 4x from the left-hand side of the equation, you get x squared minus 4x plus 3, and when you subtract 4x from the right-hand side of the equation, you get 0. This right now is a quadratic equation, and we are in good luck here because this one factors. So because of the sign pattern with a negative here and a positive there, you're going to have a negative in both positions. Furthermore, you will have an x right here to take care of the x squared, and an x over here as well. And at this point, it really doesn't matter, since I'm trying to get two numbers that multiply to 3, if I put a 1 and a 3 or a 3 and a 1. It won't matter in this case, so I'll just put in 3 and 1. So we have factored this successfully, and at this point, it'd be a good idea to use FOIL to see that this factoring is correct. Let's just do that real quick. First, outside, inside, last. The first term are x and x. They multiply to x squared. The outside terms are x and negative 1. That's a negative x. The inside terms are negative 3 and x. That's a minus 3x. And minus x minus 3x gives you your negative 4x. And finally, the last terms are negative 3 multiplied by negative 1, and that's a positive 3, which means we have correctly factored this. So since we have one thing multiplied by another thing is equal to 0, either the first of those two factors is equal to 0, or the second of the two factors is equal to 0. The way you solve this equation right here is you add 3 to both sides. When you add 3 to the left-hand side, you get x. When you add 3 to the right-hand side, you get 3. The way you solve this second equation is you add 1 to both sides of the equation. When you add 1 to the left-hand side of the equation, you get x. When you add 1 to the right-hand side of the equation, you get 1. So now you have x equals 3 and x equals 1 as the solutions to this equation. But the fact that in the first step we multiplied both sides through by x, sometimes that can add an additional solution to the equation, which is not, in fact, a solution to the equation. So in this case, it is good to check both of these solutions. So start out by checking x equals 3, which is the first solution, and you plug x equals 3 up into the equation up top, which is 3 plus 3 over 3. And that is the same as 3 plus 1. And that is equal to 4. So that particular solution, x equals 3, checks out. And then checking the solution x equals 1, the way that one is checked is you take 1 plus 3 over 1. And that's the same as 1 plus 3. That also is equal to 4. So we did not introduce an extra solution. Both of those works. So finally, the answer to the question is the two solutions are x equals 3 and x equals 1.